In this demonstration, we're going to cover how to configure OpenVPN on a pfSense security appliance. We're already logged in to pfSense on the dashboard page. The first thing I'm going to do is to go to System, Package Manager, and select Available Packages. I'm going to type in OpenVPN to search for the OpenVPN client export package. This will allow us to export our configuration settings to make setting up our clients a lot easier. Click Install and Confirm. This will take about a minute or so to install. Now let's confirm the installation. Success! Now let's go over to VPN, OpenVPN. We'll select Wizard to get started. In the past, setting up a VPN was a bit complicated, but the Wizard makes setting up OpenVPN really quick and easy. For the type of server, we're going to select Local User Access. We could also pick LDAP or Radius if you have those set up, but we don't, so click Next to continue. Now we need to create a certificate authority. pfSense adds this right in the Wizard, so you don't have to do it manually somewhere else, which is nice. For the descriptive name, I'll just enter in TestOutCA. I'll leave these next few fields at the default values and go down to country code. Here, I'll enter US. For state or province, I'll enter UT for Utah. For city, I'm in the wonderful town of Pleasant Grove. For organization, I'll put TestOut. Now click on Add New CA to add the certificate authority to the server. Now we need to create a new server certificate. We just added the certificate authority, and next we need an actual certificate. For descriptive name, I'll just put TestOut. I'll leave everything with the default values here. Country code, state, city, and organization are all auto-populated with the correct answers, so I'll just click on Create New Certificate. Now let's configure the server information. For our interface, we want to select our WAN. We also have LAN and DMZ. Our WAN is where traffic will typically come from. Our protocol will be UDP on IPv4 only. You can see we have some other choices in case your setup is different from mine. Our VPN uses the default port of 1194. We'll enter a description for our VPN and just call it TestOutVPN. We'll leave all the cryptographic settings set to their defaults and skip down here to tunnel settings. The first thing we need to do is enter some virtual network settings for our tunnel network. This will be a virtual network that our clients and server will use to communicate on. I'm going to enter 10.10.20.0/24. All my VPN clients will get an IP address of 10.10.20.something with a subnet mask of 255.255.255.0. Next is our local network. This is the LAN network that your VPN clients will access. My local LAN network is 10.10.10.0/24. For concurrent connections, I'll just put in 5. You can enter more or less than that, it just depends on how many VPN users you'll have connecting at any given time. Now, once your users connect, they'll need a DNS server. You could put in a public DNS or a local DNS. I'll put in the DNS that my LAN uses, which is 10.10.10.1. This is also the IP address of my pfSense appliance. Scroll down and click Next. Now we need to set up 2 firewall rules. We need to allow traffic from our VPN clients to our VPN server. We also need to allow traffic from our clients through the VPN to our network. Lucky for us, we don't have to do this manually. OpenVPN understands what we need, and by checking these boxes, OpenVPN will configure those rules for us. Configuring rules is not part of this lesson, but there's certainly a skill you need to know. Click Next to continue, and on this page, click Finish. All right, let's review what we've done. We have our interface set to WAN. Our protocol and port are set to UDP on port 1194. Our tunnel network looks good. Our encryption is here, and our description is TestOutVPN. Now let's head over to System, User Manager, and click on Add. I really don't want my admin user to be the same as one of my VPN users, so I'm going to add a different user here to keep them separate. For the username, I'll enter Dana Fellows. I'll enter my password and confirm it. I'll just put Dana for the full name. All right, everything looks good, And that's all I need to do here. Click Save. I'll go back up to VPN, OpenVPN, come down here, and click on the Edit icon. For some reason, our server mode changes to Remote Access SSL plus TLS, but we're using Remote Access user auth, so we need to confirm that and change it back if needed. It looks like we do, in fact, need to change that. I'll scroll down to the bottom and click on Save. Now it's time to download the client configuration. We'll go to Client Export. On the next page, scroll down to our list of OpenVPN client configuration options. I'll find the one for the Windows installer and click on it to download the configuration file. Now I'll copy this over to a machine I have on a different network and install the OpenVPN client. I'm now on a machine on my DMZ network. I copied the installation file over and I'll install it now. I'll click Yes to the user access control, click Install to continue, and just click through all the rest of these to complete the installation process. Click Finish, and finally, click Close. Now let's double-click to start the OpenVPN client. I'll drag the installation files into the recycle bin. I'll move the OpenVPN client here on the taskbar to a spot where we can see it a little better. Right-click on it and choose Connect. My username is automatically populated, so I'll just enter in my password and check the Save Password box. Click OK to connect. I get a message that I'm connected and my assigned IP is listed here. Now, if you're like me, you might ask yourself, how did the client know how to connect to my OpenVPN server out there on the internet? Let's take a second to look at the config file. I'll right-click and select Edit Config to open it. It opens in a text file, and here are all the settings that were configured for us. Down here is the IP address of the WAN interface. Now you might say, hey, that's a private IP address. Yes, it is. This is a test network, so I'm actually using a private IP range for my WAN. Let's take a look at that for a minute. Here's a diagram of my test network. I accessed my pfSense and OpenVPN settings from this client over here. The configuration is actually here on the pfSense. The client over on my DMZ network is the one that initiated the connection to the VPN just a second ago. This client can be anywhere on the internet, but for demo purposes, I placed it on my DMZ. Now, let's just confirm a few final things before we wrap up. I'm still on my client on my DMZ. I'm going to open a command prompt to check my IP settings. I'll do an ipconfig/all and press Enter. I'll scroll up a bit, and here's the IP address of this machine on the DMZ 172.16.1.101. That's my IP scheme for the DMZ. Now let's scroll down a bit. Remember, we made our tunnel network 10.10.20.0, and right here is an address from that range that's assigned to us. We saw that a few minutes ago, also right after we connected. Okay, one final thing. I access the pfSense configuration through a web browser. I have it blocked from being accessed externally. But since we're connected to the LAN through this VPN, let's see if we can access it. I'll open my browser, and in the address field, I'll enter the IP of the pfSense with the LAN address of 10.10.10.1. When I do that, the sign-in page is displayed, confirming that I have access to LAN resources. That's it for this demo. We configured OpenVPN on pfSense. We installed the client configuration package, set up our certificate, configured OpenVPN server settings, created a user, downloaded and installed the OpenVPN client on a remote host, and confirmed our connection.